Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Matt here, and today we're taking a look at another 457. This here is the LRP version, which stands for Long Range Precision. It's yet another variant of the 457 that CZ offers, and I think what they're doing with the 457 is really neat. I took a look at their website briefly, and currently there's over a dozen different models of the 457 that you can choose from. So basically, as long as you want a bolt action 22, there's probably a version of the 457 that will be tailored to your liking. So anything from a more traditional wood stock with a sporter profile barrel, to like the 457 synthetic, which I purchased for my wife, all the way up to something like this, the LRP, which is really tailored for your precision rimfire competitions. And I think it's a really, really neat package. This one is not mine, it's on loan just so I can take a little look at it. This is actually Thomas's new rifle, who is the match director at the club that I shoot at for the precision rimfire competitions. So he was kind enough to lend this to me just so that I can check it out, and I have been quite impressed with it. The LRP is a really cool package. You can see behind here I have some parts left over from my original MTR. So I have the original barrel and the stock, just so I can kind of compare the two, because the LRP really is, in my opinion, a kind of blinged out version of the MTR. Originally, when the MTR came out, and MTR, by the way, stands for Match Training Rifle, it was the only 457 to have their match grade barrel and chamber, but the LRP borrows that from the MTR and packages it in a little bit more of a competitive package, if you will. So the LRP here comes with a beech stock, so it is a wood stock, and the front end of it, so the forend, is very similar to the MTR. You can see here, this is the MTR stock. It's a walnut stock. They're fairly similar. They're both hardwoods. Beech is slightly denser and it is a little bit heavier. I believe walnut has a much nicer grain in general, so you can see they kind of leave the grain to be shown, whereas they put a really nice coating on the beech wood. It's kind of like this speckled black and gray, and it feels really nice as well. It has almost this rubbery texture to it, which I'm a big fan of. I think it looks really sharp and it is pretty photogenic as well. But you can see here the shaping of the front half of the stock in both the MTR and the LRP is very similar. However, it was interesting to note that they are slightly different. The LRP has a slightly wider forend, and I did check this with the calipers. It's about 1/4 inch thicker, and the flat section on the bottom maintains its width a little bit wider in this section. So if you're going to slap an Arca rail, I mean, the MTR here is already plenty wide if you're going to put an Arca rail on that or anything, but they both ride a bag very, very nicely, like a barricade bag, and obviously they're probably designed to do such. The LRP also does have the dual swivel studs at the front. You can see one is being used right now to mount the bipod, but you still have one, if I can show this on camera, you still have one behind there, so you can run a bipod as well as having a dedicated stud for your sling. And it does not have one on the rear, but it does have some flush cups, some cutie flush cups there. So the big upgrade on the LRP beechwood stock over the walnut MTR stock is going to be the adjustability in the buttstock section here. So you do have a adjustable cheek piece. Now nothing is toolless. You do need a Torx wrench in order to adjust things, but the cheek piece is adjustable up and down. I believe it is a T25, just looking at it. Yep, so it's a T25 size Torx that you'll use in order to adjust the cheek piece. It's a polymer piece, but it feels quite nice again. The adjustment of it is a little gritty, but I guess once you set it, you can kind of forget it. And Thomas, if you're watching, I apologize if I don't set this back perfectly, but it was kind of low there. What I did notice just taking a look at the LRP here was unfortunately you can't remove the bolt without either removing the cheek piece all the way or dropping it down. So you will need a tool, unfortunately, in order to take the bolt out, even if you have the cheek piece raised ever so slightly. It's about 1/4 inch raised right now, and you can see it already interferes with the bolt coming out of the action, but that's not a huge deal. And you also do have your length of pull adjustments via some spacers. The stock here on the LRP is quite interesting because the actual wood ends in kind of like this shape here, and they use a plastic insert in order to give you the bottom section of the buttstock and give you the adjustability and your length of pull. The buttstock does look like it is riding on rails. We're going to test that right now, so it should be able to move, yep, up and down. You can see that there. You can move the buttstock up and down, which is really neat, as well as obviously add spacers to lengthen the buttstock for yourself. And on the bottom here, it also features a Picatinny rail. Now this is actually something I think is totally unnecessary, and I wish they hadn't put this here. You can actually see right now I have a pick rail cover on it. That's because the Picatinny rail that comes on the buttstock is really sharp. It is molded into the polymer, but you can see how it's split in the middle here, and these edges are not just uncomfortable, but I believe if you were to brush up against them hard enough, it probably would break skin. That's how sharp they are. So I really don't like that. Also, I'm not really sure who uses pick rails on their buttstocks, especially for, you know, precision rimfire shooting. I did talk to Thomas as well as another buddy who recently got the LRP, and they both say that this pick rail is kind of unnecessary and more uncomfortable than anything. So I guess that's one feature that was probably not necessary in the LRP. All right, so I already touched on the fact that the LRP does borrow the match grade chamber and barrel from the MTR. And if I line up the two barrels here, you can see they're the exact same length if you disregard the muzzle devices on each one. The MTR barrel was a full straight non-fluted barrel. I think it's 0.92 inches thick. And the LRP is the same, but it does have fluting now. They both did come threaded, 1/2 inch by 20 threads on each rifle, but you can see the fluting here on the LRP runs the entire length all the way down the rifle. I think it looks quite nice. It's kind of personal preference which one you want. I kind of enjoy having more weight at the front of my rifle, especially for my rim fires. So I probably, if I had an option, I'd go for the full non-fluted barrel. But really, I think it's a matter of aesthetics. I don't think you're gonna really have any sort of performance difference between the two. They both shoot extremely accurate out of the box. And as you can see here, the LRP does come from the factory with a muzzle brake. Finally, the last thing the LRP comes with that really does tailor it again for precision rimfire type competitions is the scope base. So this is a CZ branded scope base from the factory, and it has 25 MOA of cant built into it, which is really quite nice. Anything from 20 to 30 MOA is a great option for shooting NRL 22 or the ORPS and CRPS style matches with. So this is really nice that you get this straight from the factory. That combined with the brake, the adjustability in the buttstock, in my opinion, does warrant the slightly higher price point you're going to purchase the LRP at compared to the MTR, because just a scope base itself is going to probably run you around 90 bucks here in Canada. And to get the functionality of the adjustment in the buttstock, you know, people are willing to pay for that. So I think the LRP currently is around $200 to $300 more than the MTR, but I think it is justified if this is something you're looking for, just a straight out of the box solution for shooting precision rimfire, and you don't really have to upgrade anything down the road. Besides those really neat features, again, the adjustability in the buttstock, the match grade chamber, barrel, as well as your muzzle device and your scope base, it is your standard 457. Something to note, which was pretty funny, was the bolt knob here in the pictures online look like it's going to be this huge, like golf ball size CZ branded bolt knob. And if you go on their website, you'll see what I mean. But in seeing it in person, I can tell you for a fact that this bolt knob is the exact same bolt knob that comes on all the other 457s. Just a small little round bolt knob. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's definitely usable, but it was a little bit disappointing, I know, for some people who got the LRP and realized that the bolt knob was nothing like in the pictures. But again, since the bolt handle does come threaded now on the 457s, it is a really easy part to swap out to something like a Area 419 bolt knob or the DIP bolt knob as well. It did come with a 5-round polymer magazine. Honestly, if you're going to be shooting precision rimfire matches, the first thing you want to buy is a 10 round magazine, at least one, preferably 2 or 3, but it does come with the 5 rounder here. So anyway, I hope the look at the 457 LRP here has been helpful for anyone looking at this rifle or perhaps trying to decide between the MTR and LRP. Again, as I mentioned before, I think the price point is justified in the LRP, but you're gonna have to decide for yourself whether or not it's worth it for you. If you want a rifle straight out of the box where you don't have to do any modifications with it, I think it's a really good option. Quickly, for any of my followers, my channel followers who might be viewing this video, I do still plan on doing the CRPS match breakdown or debrief, but I've just been super busy lately and my wife and I have not gotten a chance to sit down and film our thoughts on the match from last week, but it was an amazing time. I ended up shooting 8th. I tied for 8th place out of around 50 shooters, which I'm really happy with. So, you know, I dropped the ball on some early stages and then managed to get my head back in the game and shoot a lot better. But anyway, thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next video and take care.